Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Today's video we are going to talk about advice for neophytes in graduate chapter. I previously posted a video many years ago about advice for neophytes in undergrad, and it came to my attention that I didn't do one for grad chapter. So for anyone who's interested in this type of content, then keep watching this video. Strictly speaking, as someone who was inducted in undergrad but joined graduate chapter after graduation, I still feel like I was a new person coming into a new organization, or really more so a new person coming into a new chapter. And while in grad chapter, I've experienced new people coming in to graduate chapter, and just some things that I took note of as someone who was watching a new person. Basically, I don't want to say the things that they were doing wrong, but just like things that would help anyone in the future who is interested in joining an organization. Not necessarily that they're doing the wrong thing, but just some things that I would recommend anyone do who is joining a graduate chapter and they don't know where to begin. This is the type of content that I'm creating for you. So with that said, anyone who's interested in joining, or anyone who's joined an organization and they're brand spanking new in the chapter, I would tell anyone to take the opportunity to take advantage of every opportunity that's available to them as much as they can. And the reason why I add that last part is because you don't want to overcommit to anything that you're not going to be able to do. As someone who's new into a chapter, or someone who's new into an organization period, there is a lot of expectations for neophytes to take on majority of the load, if not all of the load, that graduate will say long-term graduate members no longer have the time to do, or they would like to offload those responsibilities to other people. And what better people to offload that to than new people who are full of energy and who can get it done when we can't. The reason why I say that is because grad chapter is very different from an undergrad. I've talked about this before in previous videos, but with graduate chapter, the main difference between the two is you're not physically on campus. Like, it's not something that you are always going to be exposed to, because in grad chapter we're dealing with working adults, we're dealing with people who have family commitments, school commitments, postgraduate school commitments, military commitments, things of that nature. So it gets kind of cumbersome to try to fit everything into your schedule and have full engagement with the organization and full engagement with the chapter and projects and programs and things like that. So the more new people we have coming in, we're like, oh, we can make this their project when they're in the chapter. This can be their new member project or something like that. So that's the reason why I say take advantage, but also know that you shouldn't overbook yourself, because it can happen. Another thing that I would tell neos to do more than just taking action would be to take the time to observe and learn. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with smaller chapters, you do run into the issue of, okay, they're new, we have to throw them in and then train them while they're in it. It's not the best practice, I'm going to be honest, because really neophytes should take the time to learn about the organization and learn about the functions of the chapter before they're thrown into anything heavy or anything that requires a full commitment. And the main thing that I'm speaking of in this regard is officer positions. If you are a neophyte, I would not recommend signing up for an officer position right away, especially not within your first year of a neophyte. I would recommend just taking that time to learn and observe. And there's nothing wrong with expressing your desire to do that, because no one wants to be in a position where they're thrust into a duty or a commitment and they don't know what they're doing. Nobody wants to do that. Or if they're put into that position and proper training hasn't been provided and they end up being set up for failure. This doesn't happen for everyone, but I do want to offer the transparency that this is something that can happen for people who are just excited to be a part of the organization and they just dive in heads first. My recommendation to watch and learn is really to help train neophytes to learn how, for example, if I'm brand spanking new into the organization, I would like to know how your chapter operates. I would like to know how meetings are run, what are Robert's Rules of Order, what are the protocols, what are the bylaws. That's just me as a person being a type A personality. Like, I like to know how things are done so that I can put those skills to practice in the future. I don't want to just be thrust into anything without knowing what I'm doing. So I would recommend that for anybody who's interested in joining an organization. Don't dive in head first. Take the time to see what's going on, see how it operates. And it doesn't even have to be a year for the most part. You can do it within 6 months. By the 6-month mark, you should have a pretty good idea of what the expectations are. But I wouldn't recommend just jumping into it if I wasn't sure which way is up, to be honest. Take the time to get adjusted to being in an organization, because like I said, it is a time commitment and it is different from undergrad in a sense where it's not usually a part of your schedule. It's something that you have to add to your schedule. So meetings, whenever we have meetings, whenever we have our social events, we have, for my sorority in particular, we have annual events or seasonal events that take place that are part of our national programs that we know are going to occur. So we can already put those on our calendar for the following year. But if I'm brand spanking new and I don't know the dates per se, like I might know the month that it takes place, but I don't know the specific date that it takes place, I'm going to want to prep for that. Or they could be in the process of preparing for something as soon as you've been inducted and you don't know where to begin or where they're at in that process. So take the time to get adjusted. There's nothing wrong with that. Definitely, you should be attending the meetings because the meetings are going to tell you everything. Read your minutes because the minutes are going to tell you what occurred the month before you attended or 2 weeks before you attended, like your first meeting. If you ask for the minutes for the previous meeting, it should be provided to you. If they have it, they should have it. And you should just take time to read and learn. And if you have questions, ask questions. If you have a mentor, your mentor is going to be the best person to support you in your transition from being not in Greek life to being in Greek life. And that person should also be your resource for anything that you need or any questions that you have. That would be my recommendation with that. Use your resources, use your mentor, use your sponsor, and just try to get a little more acclimated before you dive into anything. Like I said, you don't want to overbook yourself. You want to give yourself the opportunity to adjust and plan accordingly so that you can be a helpful person in your chapter. You can be a helpful, dependable member. Very rarely have I seen people join an organization and they're just no good to me, and I'm being completely honest. Majority of the people who want to join an organization, they want to join because they want something out of it, or they want to provide something to that organization or that chapter that they want to join. They're in it for a reason. So those people are the people that usually stick around. But if they don't know where to begin, or if they don't receive proper training, they don't usually last because they'll feel like when they join the organization, it's different from what actually occurred when they joined the chapter. Like they had certain expectations for the organization, and then they joined the chapter, and the chapter didn't meet their ultimate expectations for what the organization was supposed to be like for them. So as a profile, or even as a member of the chapter who's been there before the Neos got there, it's usually, for me, very important to just be a resource to people, to always be available to answer any questions that anybody has. For those that reach out to me, I'll also provide my information. We also have a directory in my chapter, but to have someone there to assist with the transition is very important for neophytes. So that would be my recommendation for a neo, to just find that resource or find that person. It doesn't even have to be your mentor if the mentor isn't very helpful. You could just find someone in a chapter who's willing to help, and just stick with that person, mesh with that person, and use them as a resource for anything that you need related to learning more about what you can expect out of the chapter. Lastly, I know I drummed on a little bit and kind of got on my soapbox, but being in an organization is supposed to be fun. So take the time to have fun. Go to the social events, go to the parties that they have, go to the community service events that are offered. Take the time to actually enjoy yourself while you're in the organization. That's part of the reason why you join too, is to be social and to have fun and to have that ultimate experience of anything that you can do it without, you know, driving yourself crazy or overbooking yourself. But those would be my recommendations for anyone who is a neo in an organization. That's my advice to you guys. If you guys have any questions, you can always message me. If anyone else has anything to add, put it in the comment box below. If you found this video helpful, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in my next sorority video down the road. Thanks for watching, guys.